We gotta get this on camera, bro.
What? Oh, stop it.
Crazy, man. Thank you so much. Like,
So much.
I can't believe I'm here.
I haven't been back in this building.
Oh, smart.
Thank you.
This moment is super surreal. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's surreal to me too.
this guy's the fucking GOAT, man.
No.
The greatest taste.
No.
The greatest taste. Greatest designer unto yourself. Greatest taste in people that you have and would like to collaborate with. I mean, just like GOAT level.
Thanks.
Like people know who Murakami is. He has a really incredible, portfolio. But like, man, when you gave him that platform to do what he did and what you guys did together, like that changed his life, that changed his career. If you ask him, he'll tell you. I'm sure he's said it many times. But like, and it was like a magnet for so many of us who were watching the brand. Like, we're like, okay, Vuitton is a different place because look at this. It's like you give this platform to this human being first and foremost, but this Asian, really beautiful minded, creative artist. And like you just give them this platform and you guys do all of that stuff together, and like it changed fashion, it changed art. And you just continue to do it over and over and over again. Like, and I can't believe that you fucking gave me a shot, man.
But you can. You
I
can. Just
really
based on
can.
what you but based just on what you said, you believe it.
I'm having a hard time believing it because I'm literally pinching myself all the time. But I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, like it had never happened before. Sure, like, fashion brands, corporations, designers, they would send clothes to people in music and send clothes to some people in like, rap music specifically. But nobody ever said come in and do something.
Yeah.
It had never happened before. And like you opened the doors for us and then you held the doors open.
Yeah. I don't know how to do it any other way. That's just the reality of it. I mean, it's weird. I always find it funny to think about because when I arrived in Paris as basically a foreigner, I mean, if you're from New York and you're given a design position in a storied French house, you are about as foreign of a foreigner as they get.
Right.
Like typically the French didn't welcome you with open arms, you know what I mean? The Parisians didn't welcome you with open arms. And I just looked at like what went on here creatively in another period in time, which was so beautiful, which was when people with different creative visions and voices worked with each other because they were all creative people. So, you had people like Coco Chanel, you had people like Elsa Schiaparelli who were working with really interesting experimental musicians, set designers, artists, and I don't think they gave it a second thought. They were just all like-minded, creative people who benefited from working together and exchanging ideas. So to me, when I looked at the history of like good design in Paris, especially in fashion, I was like, well, that was the behavior. So that's what the behavior should be.
Right. And do you think like at a certain point, like people lost that concept?
I do. I mean, I don't want to be negative about it, but I do think something happened in fashion where, I mean, some of those names that I mentioned may have had a grandiosity or an arrogance or whatever, but I think something, as the world progressed, there was more of this like ownership, this idea of like, I am the great so-and-so and I own this and I will not share the recognition with others. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what happens when you have a closed mind or when you become too caught up in yourself, you close that opportunity, or you lose the opportunity to express new things, to meet new people, to share. You know what I mean? Like, so I think maybe. Yeah, that's what was a little bit happening in the world of fashion around that time. was years and years of this. I am the king of this ivory tower, and I did everything. It's me, I. There was no we to be found.
Yeah.
And I mean, that probably isn't only fashion. That probably was going on in a lot of places. But, you know, when things get I-oriented, it's always a dangerous place to be. And so when you start saying we and let people in, I think actually some really interesting things happen.
That's so true. And I like that. I like how you refer to it as the I orientation, as it is. It's the sickness. It's the ego.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I just saw you just be so collaborative. And I've always prided myself on my collaborations. I feel like my best work was that. So in that respect, I felt like we got along so well. I just couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. Like, just like looking back at the amount of opportunities that you afforded me. I mean, you did the same thing for Ye.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, it was like, it was so not premeditated.
Yeah.
It was so fluid, how I came to work with you, or you came here and did what you did. And with Kanye too, it was so fluid. He was buying some sneakers from Marc Jacobs in New York. It was like a different time for him, style-wise, right? And he was buying these like collab we did with Vans. And he kept calling the office and saying he wanted to meet me, you know, and he would call the office in New York and they'd be like, oh, sorry, he's in Paris. And finally, we got in touch with each other. We stayed on the phone for a couple of hours. I mean, I like left my office sweating. I had never spoken to him before. And, you know, it was full on. We covered everything from music to pornography, you know, and art in between and fashion and everything. So it was kind of crazy. But again, it was just very fluid. Like, something happened, brought us together. He said he wanted to do a sneaker. I said, come on, let's do it. Come over. And that was just the way it was. And our story, I think, began with some sunglasses, you know, and Emma Winter. And and again, it was
crazy.
It was just, but you know, that's like, what is it? The you know, ask and you shall receive. It's like, you know, you put it out there, and I was receptive. There was the opportunity meets preparation vibe going on, and that's when, again, when things can happen. But it wasn't premeditated at all. I wasn't searching for people to collaborate with, or, you know, there was always a reason that made something feel valid and right, you know, which I think creatively in my mind, I always need that moment, that spark that says, like, this is the right thing to do. But not the right thing in, like, the results, what feels right to do.
Right. Well, see, to me, I think that's also a compliment to what it is that you do, because it's not premeditated. You just know. You know, you just have that, like, you got that, like, I can't say it's just, you know, only synonymous with Aries, but you do have like that.
That's right.
Aries, like, like you just, and you just know, and you commit.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's, you know, maybe youth has, well, I guess I wasn't that much younger, but I was much younger. But, you know, there's something that youth allows you, if you're that person where you just say, like, why not? Like, let's do it, you know? Like, there isn't all that, like, weight of, like, is this the right thing to do? Should I do it? What are they going to think about it? Is that going to cause me a problem? You know? And I think, especially around the time that we met and we worked, I mean, everything just felt like, let's do it, you know? Not everything, but the things that felt good, I was like, let's do it.
Yes.
You know, it was really hard. I guess the beginning was really tough. And I had a couple of people that worked with me on the team, Camille Michelli, who you remember, I'm sure.
Yes.
Peter Copping, Jane Whitfield. But we were a very, very small team of people. And I brought them in. We had to start an atelier. There was no Vuitton atelier. You know, LVMH, all the different brands in LVMH operate separately. So it wasn't like, oh, they have a great atelier over at Dior, they're going to help us out. It's like, no. That's not the way it goes. So we had to build it. And, you know, we didn't have anybody to do this. We didn't have anybody to do that. And in the project, I first presented to Vuitton when Mr. Arnault approached me. He wanted to know what my vision of Vuitton in the future could be. And I did this project where I drew like a watch, and I was like, Vuitton could be a luxurious watch, and Vuitton could be fine jewelry, and Vuitton could be this, and it could be menswear and women's wear. And it was just presenting the possibilities as I saw it of what the future would be for Vuitton, because there was no ready to wear. There was only bags, and really the only convincing bags, in my opinion, was the luggage, because it's what the house did, it's what they were known for, and it's what you actually saw out in the world. And then when I was asked to do it and came in, we had to make everything else up.
Wow.
There just was no machine here for that, you know. They didn't know how to make a fashion handbag. They didn't know how to make a leather handbag, because everything was, you know, the PVC or whatever the actual stuff is called. But so we had to do everything. So it was very daunting, but it was also fantastic. You know, in the fear of a white page, we found all the things we could do, and it was Pharrell who suggested, like, oh, it'd be great to do Vuitton sunglasses. And I was like, great, let's do it together.
Well, let me
you want to tell the whole story?
Well, no, not the whole story, but let me just say this. Two things. Number one, so it's official. You know, this is the house that you built.
Thanks.
Because it didn't exist before. And it was really nice to see you, because we both have this in common, where we like often self-deprecate. Mm-hmm. Like it's a comfort thing. And at times it's equalizing, it feels like, but it was just nice to really hear you like embrace, this is the house that you built, and I will for sure echo those words for the rest of my days. Second of all, the way that it actually happened with the sunglasses is that Emma had introduced us, and you were like, I like those sunglasses. Did you make them? And I was like, nah, I didn't make them. And you were like, well, do you want to make some? And I was like, sure. I was like, do you mind if I bring the guy that actually made it? Because we like make a lot of shit together these days, Nigo. Uh-huh. And that's how we met. But you were complimentary of them, and you liked them, and you were like, yo, basically saying, if you did those, come do some over at the house. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it still doesn't seem like that's what happened to me.
I promise you.
I believe you. I have a
being,
bad memory, so.
It's okay, because I remember feeling so lucky that you didn't just go, oh, well, fuck you. Like, you know, where's that guy? And you were still like, no, yeah, you can bring him. And I was like, oh, amazing.
Well, I remember meeting Nigo with you, of course, that I remember. And I remember later sessions where we were trying to do something else together, you, me, and Nigo. And, But the sunglasses, I do remember, didn't we meet at the Mercer the first time or something to look at? I remember talking to you on the phone. I remember some of your vocabulary, like thinking, I remember there's a phrase that you said that I think I remember clearly. It was like left of center.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that stuck in my head forever, because I just thought like, yeah, that's where you want to be. It's just left of center.
Yeah.
But we talked on the phone at great length about different types of styles of sunglasses, and I remember having like almost like a flash, like if it were a movie, you'd have like this flash of an image, but. You said Sophia Loren's, and I was like, I thought I knew exactly what you meant by that style of sunglass, where the arm came from the bottom or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. I remember speaking to you on the phone, and then I remember meeting later on at the Mercer and developing, of course, some of these styles with you.
Yes.
And like the huge success of the Millionaires, like
crazy.
Right. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. And then I remember fast forward, you know, many years later with Virgil calling me up and saying like, oh, we're going to do these glasses, and he sent me a pair, and sent him a pair, or he sent me a pair, and my husband took
he took them.
Yeah. And it's just nice, and of course it just reminded me of like the life, you know, how it was nice that life evolved and stuff. So
it's like mind blowing, and so much so. I know one of the things that we're going to do in commemoration of like our partnership and working together are the grills, but the other thing is I wanted to do, well, we're working on them, a necklace charm of the sunglasses folded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that you stick your necklace through the arms, but it's closed. So we're going to do that.
Cool.
And I wanted to talk to you to see if we wanted to do a one-off where it's just gold and diamonds, or do we want to just do or we want to do like maybe 100 or maybe 200, but in plain gold. But we gotta talk about it whenever you have a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, but just in commemoration of that time.
That would be great. That sounds great.
Yeah, that was like I met you 20 years ago.
Is it 20?
20, and the sunglasses came out in 2004.
No.
But we started working in 2003.
Oh.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Wow. That was crazy that we got them done so quickly. I mean, things were still moving very slowly around here. So
I would have never known.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that time, I didn't know that the house
and then you
didn't
did
have
jewelry.
that.
You did jewelry, and you modeled in the ad campaign shot by Matt and Marcus.
This guy.
Yeah. There was. Yeah. You
changed my life, man.
Yeah.
Do you know that though? Do you know that? Like, music has been great to me. It continues to be the skeleton key that opens every door, 100%. But one of the doors that it opened was like meeting you and having you embrace me in that way and be so supportive and be so generous. Like, I'm telling you, it only started happening after you did that for me. I just want you to know, like, on the long list of your accomplishments, your continuous accomplishments in this lifetime, you built this house and you changed my life 100%.
Thank you.
If you ask Kanye to this day, he will probably tell you he probably would have never known to ask you if he hadn't have seen what it is that you gave me an opportunity to do. You let everybody know what was possible.
Yeah.
Because the other fashion houses weren't doing it.
No, they definitely weren't.
No way.
Maybe I'm not putting myself down. I'm not. But I had the opportunity of a lifetime, being here, and being given the freedom and the authority to do what I wanted, and what I wanted to do is what I did. So yeah, luck is opportunity meets preparation, right? So I got to do these things, and I got to do them with you, and I got to do them with Kanye, and I got to do them with Murakami and Stephen Sprouse, and a host of people, because there were people who I looked up to and respected creatively, and all I did was just extend an invitation.
And the collaboration with all those people, all of us as well. The collaboration too, like your, intuitive and artistic prowess too. Like it was also a masterclass too. Like you're working with somebody that like really gets it, understands it, knows it's done this before, and was building a house at the time. That was just know that was like. That was school for me, because I didn't go to Central St. Martin's Lane or Parsons or anything like that.
Kanye did.
FIT, yeah.
Did he go to Central St. Martin's?
He may have.
I think he told me he did.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I did not. So you understand. This
you
like a lottery ticket for me.
Born with the whole fashion gene, that's for sure. I mean, you always show up with, like, before anybody was like rocking certain things, you had like that purple Birkin, that crazy Birkin, right? And and you had like all the jewelry and all the stuff going on that people were like way ahead of everybody else.
So can I just let them know where I got the inspiration to get the purple croc?
No, yeah, you can. No, it was croc. Or was it?
You had a green croc.
Was it purple croc or ostrich?
Yours?
No, yours.
Mine was purple croc.
Oh, okay.
But I got that because I saw you with a hunter green Orikura croc, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
you still have that bag.
See, you're turning it around again. You're turning it around because I said like, oh, and you had this fashion gene, and you were doing this, and you were doing this, and you're like, no, it's because you. It wasn't because of me. It's because you. It was in you. You had it all along. You've always been like Mr. Styly, and
I'm Mr. Observe.
No,
I am. I promise you.
But you and Nigo. I mean, what you were doing with music and how it was expressed through the things you wore. It was very uniquely you. It's what made it very. It was what was so seductive and very attractive about you, is that there was all this creative energy that was manifesting itself you know, in terms of what we heard, in terms of what we saw, like all of that. So, you know, you stop the self-deprecating and I'll stop the self-deprecating and we'll get somewhere maybe.
Okay.
There were some really great French punks in the art world. You know, Duchamp was like the ultimate punk rock artist. And that was part of what I thought about when I came here. You know, it's like a guy who puts a mustache on the Mona Lisa is like a punk rock artist through and through.
Yeah.
And I mean, and also what that symbolized was like by defacing it or by thinking left of center, you've created something new that speaks to a younger group of people. So, so I thought like, wow, you know, you've got the guy here who did all this stuff in the art world that really shook things up. So there's plenty punk rock about Paris, although it doesn't feel that way right now, maybe looking around, but there were a couple, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Nigo gave me a shot and, you know, we were partners. And I think I was at a point in my life where I just couldn't believe that any of this was happening for me and that anyone cared enough to like even share their platform like that. Because he had Bape, which was crushing it, you know. And then meeting Marc, and it was like, I'll never forget, you know, when I first made my first check in music, I bought like a bunch of Polo. And I like blew my whole check, and it was like not a lot of money. And then when I got my first substantial check, the first thing I did was go get like, you know, the LV roller, the duffel, the keep all. So I never dreamt in a million years that I was like gonna meet this guy. And when I met him, I was like, oh, okay. He said he wants to do something, and for me, if it never came to fruition, the fact that he said that, like, just meant so much. And so when we ended up doing something, I was like, oh, this is like really real. Like I've always been that. Always been like the person who, when it comes to things for me, I'm not really good at reading the moment to say, oh, this is your time, this is happening. Like someone around me needs to go, hey, you taking this, do you understand that this is really happening? Because I just never ever, my life wasn't like that up until I got into the music industry. It always just felt like, not necessarily bad luck, but subjugated, you know, gravity pulling down at every which way. That's just the way we grew up. And so it's like, well, I don't know, that would never happen for me. And so having BBC and having Nigo as a partner and then bumping into Marc and then Marc, you know, welcoming me in a moment where it's like, well, I didn't make those sunglasses. I just like, out of all the ones that Nigo made, that's the pair that I chose. So I'm rocking those, and he was like, well, you want to make sunglasses? I was like, yeah. But I was like, again, I said this earlier, but when I asked could I bring Nigo and he said yes, I was like, who does that? Like, that's any other like vulture or savage in this industry, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
would have been like, right? Oh, okay, cool, great. Where's Nigo? You know, but he didn't do that. And I never forgot that part. That part right there just meant so much to me. And I've just been on a continuous high of that notion, even up until now. There's so many of these decisions he could have said, oh, okay, this is our limit. This is where we stop. He was like, no, okay, cool, we did that. All right, you want to do a campaign? Like, wait, what? Me in a campaign? Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not like, at the time, Tyson Beckford or like any of these other dudes.
Yeah,
like,
but let's just 1 second. But you're a great looking guy with like tons of style. So it was not exactly like, poor you in this ad campaign. It was
no.
I mean.
No, you leveled me up. Let's be clear about that. That was like a level up, but I just, you know, at the time, it was unheard of.
Right.
You know, with the exception of like Tommy, when Tommy would have like some like rappers or like R&B artists or whatever, like, and all the stuff that Kidada did, which was amazing.
Right.
That was amazing. But, you know, that's Tommy. Like, that's never going to happen again, you know? And the fact that you were like, oh, yeah, do you want to do without blinking? Oh, do you want to do the campaign? Wait, huh? First of all, yes. Second of all, wait, what? And then we went on to do the jewelry.
Yeah. Again,
Game
I mean,
changing.
I'm not. I mean, it is. I guess it's not unusual, but many years later, just as you're saying this or thinking about it, thinking through it with you, yeah, it just all just felt like the right thing to do. You know, I didn't really. It wasn't like I'm going to look back on this, or people are going to look back on this and say like, no. It was just. It was exciting being here, and it was exciting trying to figure out and define and keep an open mind about the possibilities of what Louis Vuitton could be. And because that was the mindset, and because you were you, and the time was what it was, and creativity, everything, it worked beautifully, you know. There was a very different landscape.
100%.
And people weren't open-minded, and maybe that's part, if I can pat myself on the back, maybe that's part of what was special, was that I was in a position of power here, and with an open mind, that's what I saw as being right and interesting and cool, as opposed to a vulture later on looking back and saying, how can I use that?
Some of these things you can plan and have an idea, but oftentimes the most magical ones are magical because you didn't. You know, that perception of magic is because you didn't plan it. It's just that you had the instinct to ask the right question at the right time, or you're around the right kind of really receptive, open person who wants to make magic, and they accept. Or you guys are, the environmental context is so perfect that like we look at each other and go, oh yeah, we're crazy if we don't do this right now. You know, where it just dawns on you. And I think he just has that instinct. Like he just has that like natural instinct that he knows he should ask this question or make this suggestion or whatever. And like we're all idiots not to step up and be like, sure. You know, that's, you ain't gonna like this word, but that's how genius works. It's not really a thought. It's no different than like a Tuesday coming after Monday and right before Wednesday. That's just the way it is. That's just how people like that work.
Yeah.
I have been talking to Alexandre for years, saying I think Nigo is the guy for here. Like I was like, man, you know, he did 2 collaborations. He did one with V, which was amazing, and V was a good collaborator as well.
Yeah.
Blessings, brother. And then he did one after V had passed in the interim, and that was great too. So I just kept saying, look, he's ready for it. He's gonna crush it. He's got the taste. He's got everything, and he's over at Kenzo. And I just thought, okay, he's over at Kenzo now, which I wear Kenzo all the time. Like he's warming up over there. Like, okay, cool. And then Pietro had it in his mind when he got the position, which is crazy, Pietro, right?
Yep.
You knew him from then in your squad.
Yeah.
And Pietro hit Alexandre, and he was like, yeah, you know, we thought about it, and Pietro and I, like, we just can't think of anybody else better suited for the position than you. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you. And I was like, he's like, I hope you'll accept. And I was like, I fucking accept. I was like, but I'm gonna need some time to think about it. He said, yeah, and we hope you accept. I said, no, you don't understand. I said yes already. I just need some time to go unpack this because I didn't see this coming. And I've been feeling the same way ever since. So you have to understand, it's like, it's a bit emotional for me to like see you because you started this, man. You built this house and you knocked down the first domino that got me to this place. I never saw this. In my brain, it was like, okay, I did a mixtape after like we first worked together and I was talking so crazy on there. I was like, ask Marc Jacobs, just talking so crazy about how, just bragging because that was who I was at the time. It's like 20 years ago, bragging about like being the first to do this and the first to do that. But sunglasses, campaign, jewelry. So in my mind, that was enough. In my mind, that was like flag in the ground, like, hey. So when Virgil got the position, it was like, oh, this is amazing. This story just keeps evolving. Look what Marc did. This is fucking crazy. I'm good. I'm over at Chanel. I've been there for like 9 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Which was amazing.
well, yeah, I was grateful.
Yeah, that was some really good,
Right?
good output there. Yeah.
Crazy. A
Yeah.
nice a capsule, which had never been done with, Carl had never done one, Chanel had never,
Yeah.
Coco had never done. Like, it was a first.
Yeah.
So I'm good. I'm like, hey, I'm cool. I get that call. And I didn't renew over at Chanel. I don't know why. Something was like, don't renew, just chill, be supportive. You love them. They've been good to you. Virginie's awesome. Carl's gone. Just, you cool. Like, just don't renew, just chill. And when I got that call, I couldn't believe it. I literally spent the rest of the year, because it was like toward the end of the year, I literally spent the rest of the year like, am I gonna fuck this up? Is something gonna happen? Like, this can't be real. And I just thought, like, I'm like, this guy right here. Like, how did he see all of this? Or, how about this? How did he know enough to, like, knock down the dominoes? That's why I'm just like, oh, and he doesn't want to hear it, but you just have to understand this has affected my life immensely is like an understatement. Like, this has changed my life. So getting that call, I'm like, yo, this is the gift that keeps on giving. We came here in January. I had to do the same thing you did, which was present my vision to Mr. Arno, which is the future of chic, which I think is dandy. And he liked it, and pretty much everything you saw in the collection in the first show is what we presented. And then we signed on Valentine's Day, which was crazy. It's like weird, but awesome. And I haven't been home since then. So it's like we just been here. Found a place. Still love my place in Miami, which is what we're gonna do when we go in Christmas, for Christmas. But I love it here, man. My whole mindset has shifted. Like, seeing what is possible has been given new definition and new context with this appointment, and what it's afforded me, like this different POV of Paris. And I don't hang out. I hang with my kids, my family. I work. And I've always worked hard, but I probably work harder than I ever have in my life. And I make music upstairs. And it's crazy. It's the room that he used to be in.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Before we leave,
Yeah.
yeah, if you come up, that'd be
Sure.
awesome. And I, started wearing like, Chanel pieces that I thought I could pull off. Not because they were more masculine, but because I felt like the silhouette or the shape just lended itself to looking good on a human. So I would wear pearls. I would wear like, a sweater that made sense, that looked like it fit, or a belt here and there, or some accessories, Like, and that was, seeing him do that, I think I just naturally just thought that was cool, and it just made sense. I'm an observer. And then Notorious B.I.G. had this line like, bags by Chanel, baby Benz traded in your Honda XL. And to me, it was like, I had never paid attention to Chanel before. I used to see it on Lil' Kim, I didn't know about it at all, but then I started seeing how he would wear things at the time. And it's interesting because when we first met, I felt like you wore like a lot of like button downs, but very casually, jeans or khakis. He had like these clear glasses
Oh, yeah.
frames.
Yeah.
You know, always like very casual cigarette, like just super cool, colorful socks, and he would wear like these worn Stan Smiths.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why I started wearing Stan Smiths, because I saw how he was wearing his. Like his weren't new, they were worn. I was like, wow, it's the real thing. You know, it's like the reason why you love vintage shopping, but he was like in it, making it what it was. But then he would have like a crispy, like, you know, Hermes Oricura. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, oh, this guy's got all the sauce. So like that just started like to inform me that like, because I went from high school kid with a background in like skate world, like wearing Vans and sort of mixing the worlds together. Then when I got into the industry, it's like when I first could afford anything, like I said, I was wearing a lot of polo and like had like Vuitton bags. Then I went like super heavy into like, went back skate shit, like cut off Dickies, Vans and shit like that. Then I started like wearing like, you know, fashion brands, like luxury house, like level fashion brands. And so when I met him, then that pulled me back from that, and it was like, okay, well, who am I now? What do I get to do? Because this guy is just doing whatever the fuck he wants. There are no rules. So that really informed me.
Mm.
That's why I like, this blows my mind, because he's still like knocking down the walls of like what one can do and showing people like how they can do it.
I feel like, you know, I love fashion. That's why I do this, right? This is the main reason why I'm interested in working in this world, is because I love fashion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, part of what I love about fashion is the change. Mm-hmm. And I have a very personal relationship to that change. So if it's something like a ballerina flat that all of a sudden takes me away, then that's what my life looks like for the next however many months I'm into it or years I'm into it. I do remember seeing you, like, I think the shorts may have been Comme, or you were wearing Comme des Garçons at a certain point, or
yeah.
There was a Vivian hat at one point, right? Yeah. And I just, you know, again, I took note of the different things, but the big picture was that there's still that passion, because if there wasn't that passion, there wouldn't be a new hat to note. There wouldn't be a new pair of shorts to note. Yeah. There wouldn't be a new shoe to note. That just shows you, it doesn't matter that those things aren't the same. It's kind of even better that they change, because it just shows that renewed interest of like, something can still pull at my heartstrings. Something I have to have, and I can't explain why, but I have to have it.
Yes.
Yes. And, you know, that's the whole meat and potatoes of it, really.
100%.
I don't know why, but I have to have it.
Yes. And by the way, when I get obsessed, I need it in every color. Yeah,
of course.
Or at least 4 or 5 colors.
Of course.
And I will wear it to death.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's really interesting. I mean, you asked, or somehow I heard in one of your questions that, like, this idea of chic, I don't know if chic is really part of the current vocabulary. I mean, as a word, you know what I mean? Like, it almost belongs to another time. I don't hear a lot of young people using that actual word. But what it represents never goes away. Mm-hmm. And I think what's so interesting about people's relationship to fashion is so cool now. And without having to talk about gender or anything, it's just like, you could say pearls, you could say a Birkin. It's not a woman's handbag. It's not a lady's necklace. It's it's just like, they're pearls. Yeah. It's a bag. Yeah. You know, and that is like, whoa, that is futuristic. You know, like, who would have thought we didn't have to attach an article, like a gendered article in front of like these things? It's like, nah, they're just materials to create a stylish look, you know?
Agreed. And I would add to what you were saying about chic. For me, like, no, it's not from anybody else's approval, but it's just kind of like the obvious that, oh, that person is chic. Why? because they are effortlessly doing this thing, and look at the detail. And it's kind of like an attitude more than it is what you're wearing. It's like the level of comfort and confidence in what it is that you have on, and how it is just vibrating a comfort that everyone takes notice of. Because I've seen people wear like absurd things and you still kind of go, okay, it's kind of chic. There is a stereotypical chic, right? But I think that real true essence of what is chic is kind of much bigger than the textbook chic.
Right.
Like
The
he says
formula.
yeah. This formula.
What's the story with your watch?
Richard Mille,
It's so cool.
and it's like the lightest
You see
and
that?
the thinnest.
See that now?
Yeah, I've never seen one this. Look,
That's insane.
that's crazy.
That's Richard.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I was like, where's the back of the watch?
Yeah, he killed it. And then, for it to be this thin and still be tourbillon, like
It's insane.
and then you wind it like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's a genius.
That is insane.
I feel the same way, to be honest with you.
I've never seen it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
He's Richard Mille.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The one thing that I can say is that I've never been nervous about the shows. But I think it's because I'm so obsessed with the details that I'm too carried away with like making sure everything's okay, that I don't have the bandwidth to worry. I'm just really obsessed with like making sure that like it's the best of the best. I'm too busy doing that. Thank God. I don't know if I could deal with having nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Like soon as the last one stopped, we started thinking about. I had already told the team like, okay, next we're gonna go here. And then the pre-codes are the pre-codes. But for me, I want to make the pre-codes like as good as the shows.
So much work.
It really is. It's a lot, and you don't have room to worry. I mean, at least I don't. I don't know how he did it. Every show. Every show. Super fire. The one with the SpongeBob bag. Come on.
You did music for one of the shows too. Do you
Yes.
remember that when you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That was crazy. You were, what was it? All that Chicago house or something like that. And it was like played like super, super fast.
Yeah.
And I remember some of the music from that season was so insane. Yeah.
Opportunity after opportunity.
I mean, I'm a nervous wreck.
Right.
Yeah, I stress it all. But
But
it's okay.
level
I mean,
of
it's
work,
what I
though,
do consistently.
the level of work, the level of
Yeah.
work was just so next level.
I mean, that is one of the most beautiful things about working in Paris. Is like, I always say, like, the way I summed it up was like we would talk about some button design, and the person from the button who would do the buttons, who would execute them, would kind of come. They didn't really do this, but this is how it looked to me. Like they'd bring the proto of the button on a velvet,
It does feel that way.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're so proud
Yeah.
of having executed this idea you've given them the privilege to do.
Yes.
That was something, I mean, I've never experienced that
Never.
anywhere else in the world. Like
Never.
to work with the French artisans, like, yeah, the Desrouxes and the like Gripois, like all the people I got to work with here. That was like the best part.
It still feels that way right now. You feel like a kid. You feel like a kid, but then you also feel incredibly honored.
Yeah.
And it's the balancing act between those emotions. Like, fuck, yes, I can't believe this. And then there's like, damn, bro, I'm like so lucky. And because you can't communicate that to anyone else. In fact, you're probably the first one I've ever been able to have a conversation with someone that can share in that feeling.
Yeah.
To say yes, you're like honored, like, because they do. They like, look,
Yeah.
this is what you asked for.
Yeah.
And this little part right here, and by the way, we thought about this, and we thought, well, why don't we just add this? And you're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Why didn't I think? You know, it's that.
But I mean, I've worked in the States and I've worked in Italy, and you know, I've had experience in other places, and it's not that each place doesn't have something incredible to offer, but like Paris is fashion. I mean, it's always been, and it kind of always will be. It's like the showcase of like design. Paris is the showcase for fashion design in the world, first and foremost. So I think it just has it in its genes, you know, that they love to deliver in those areas. That's what I think.
Well, I didn't work all over the world. I worked in Tokyo.
Yeah, I worked in Tokyo too. I forgot that one, which is also pretty amazing.
Next level.
Yeah,
That is just like a college campus to me.
yeah,
You just go there and learn about everything.
yeah. That's true.
Purveyors of just great fucking
Yeah,
taste in
yeah.
every category.
Yeah, it's
From
true.
fucking food to like
Yes, yes,
just everything.
yes. We saw last night for Jürgen Teller's show that opened at the Grand Palais. So that was exciting. That was really exciting.
I think I'm supposed to go on the 16th.
It's a great show. It's a really good show.
It's crazy.
Where do you live in Paris?
Right now we're at the Cheval,
Okay.
but there's a place that I really like in the 7th.
So you found a place.
Yeah.
You think you found a place in the 7th? What street? Oh, don't say it. No, don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah, we're negotiating.
No, but
Let's
I mean
scratch this
also.
part.
No, also nobody should know what street you live on.
Yes. Well, cactus just because that's what you're just supposed to do. That's just you're supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? And with Henry Taylor, like as a black man on this planet, I'm supposed to do that. The door was held open for me, so you have to do that. And Henry had done something with the house before. I think like he did like they took a painting of his and put on a purse. But I saw it as an opportunity to really open that platform up. Before I even knew that they did that.
Right.
He was one of the artists that we identified that I wanted to work with. So I have a responsibility. My job is to hold the door. Anybody watch Game of Thrones? Hodor. That's my job.
Love, respect, mutual admiration, appreciation are the way forward, and not, it's mine, I made it, I'm better than you are. Like, hopefully there'll be a shift. I mean, there's already been a shift, but it needs to get a lot bigger. And maybe by speaking to each other, sharing our stories and our relationship, maybe it'll open up the possibility of more of this, right? What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. Like, we need that. There's a lot of me. It's crazy.
I
just
think
needed
we
to
have
pay
a
my
little bit
respect.
of a genuine relationship.
Yes.
Whether it's we see each other always or once in a while, the genuine feeling is just that. It's authentic. So
Very grateful.
You get what you came for.
Yes. I'll always be forever grateful to this guy.
And likewise.
And your family.
Likewise.
Yes.
Yeah. And your family.
Thank you, brother.
Your beautiful family. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, your beautiful family.
Thank you.
How do they like being here?
I think, they love it. But it's obviously a different universe, right?
Right. Culture shock.
Yeah. But they love it and they're embracing it. It's just interesting to see them like circumnavigate.
Yeah.
Of
course.
But yeah, they love it. This doesn't get old. You know where we are right now?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking to? You know what's happening? My greatest job is not waking up. This is a dream. That's the only hard job I got. It's like, don't wake up.
I don't want to go touching your fucking hair.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
If you need to change the hour, you just change that.
Wow.
The same place.
That's so sick.
That's crazy.